Hello Internet, and today's video is going to be another book opinion. This is where I tell you my opinion on a book. Today's book is going to be Game Alive by Trip Ellington. I read this one on audiobook, and I must say the audiobook was atrocious. Let's just start off with that. The audiobook was so very terrible. The narrator, his voice, perfectly fine. When he was narrating neutral scenes, his voice was magnificent. I liked his voice. I was like, yeah, you got a good voice. But when he was voicing the main character and the main character's best friend, male best friend, those two boys are so nasally. It was frustrating. So for a few hours, I just listened to two boys talk back and forth whilst breathing solely through their nose. And I was so very angry because nowhere in the text of the book were either of these boys described with having a nasally voice. If they were described with having a nasally voice, I would let it go a little bit. But no, this was the sole choice of the voice actor to give these two nasally voices. So then I was trying to think in my head, does he think pubescent boys sound nasally? But then we meet another character who is also in that same age range as these other two main characters, is also male, and this kid does not have a nasally voice. He talks like a normal person. He doesn't talk like his nose is stuffed up, or like he can't breathe through his mouth too. Like, he talks like just a kid. No nasal. But the two main characters we stick with the whole time, nasal. So, no, don't bother. If you hate nasally voices, don't bother. That's one reason to click away right now. Like, that was horrible. So Game Alive has a main character. He's like 13, 14, right? And they live in this sort of futuristic time where virtual reality is a thing. So everyone has a VR room. And he is a programmer. So he likes coding and programming. And he's really, really good at programming VR worlds. So he has been on this project for a really, really long time to create a medieval fantasy type world in his VR room that is supposed to be super, super, super realistic. And he succeeds. He and his two friends end up going and visiting his world. He convinces his friends to come to his VR world, and they have this great, great time, but some weird stuff starts happening, and they end up getting trapped in the game with no way to escape. I really, really like trapped in the game situations. It's one of my favorite anime genres to look at. I just really, really like the idea of someone being trapped in an MMO or something VR, and then them trying to find a way out, whether it's because if they stay in, they're gonna die, they just want to get out because they want to get out. Whatever the reason for them being trapped, whatever the consequence for them not succeeding and getting out is, I just really love that sort of environment. So that's why I started this book, only to find out this book was awful for various reasons. So one of the biggest ones that I didn't like this book was we have one main female character. So we have the main character who created the VR game, his best friend who really likes lacrosse, and the other best friend who is this girl named Kari. Now, when they first go into the VR game, the creator, of course, he's been creating this whole game. He knows this game like the back of his hand, but he's not really that high in levels because he's been too busy making the game and not playing the game as often, right? So when they go in, they decide to do quest. Right off, we learn that Kari is like this super powered OP character. She is like this princess druid magician sort of sorceress thing, and like automatically, like, she says a spell, she gets rid of all of these dire wolves that this kid has been struggling with forever. And like, he's like level 50, say, and she's level 1, and he's over here struggling. He knows the whole game, right? He should be the OP one, right? He's a creator. No, he's struggling, and this level 1 character who has not been in this game before, who just learned it, who just created her character, all of a sudden destroys everything, right? all of a sudden. So I'm like, okay, cool, she's an OP character. Like, some people have real problems with OP characters. I don't. If it's written right, then I'm all for it. Like, you let that person be as OP as they want to be. But this is what frustrated me. So Kari eventually gets kidnapped. Now, that's probably a spoiler, but it happens really early on in the book, and it's ending. That's how they end up trapped. Is she gets trapped in the game first, and then the boys get trapped in the game later, and they're searching for her because the game time and real world time end up being different. So she's been trapped in the game a whole lot longer than they have, simply because real world game time and the difference. So they get stuck in the game trying to look for her, and they're like chasing her down, and they find her. But when like they keep finding her, she is captured and chained up, and she does nothing to help them try to save her. This is an OP character, a clearly established OP character. Now it's explained, oh, the chains, they like keep her from using her magic, fine, but literally him and the other boy will be fighting to the death with the people holding her hostage. And she doesn't move to run. She doesn't wrestle with the person that's holding her, even though she clearly sees her two friends over there trying to rescue her. She doesn't try to run to go meet them or anything like that. She just sits there like a damsel in distress while the two boys fight for the next 20 minutes that I'm listening to. Then you hear her struggle a second before she gets captured again, and like the bad guys run off with her. This is a clearly OP character. You told me in the very beginning she was OP, and now you're telling me she's just gonna be the damsel in distress so I can watch these two foolish idiots try to save her over and over? Was I mad? Was I mad? Like, I was just, I'm not even gonna get into why I'm so angry about that. You should just know. You should just know why that's infuriating, okay? I'm sorry. Another thing that I was just frustrated with, the two boys were idiots, and I had to listen to them for most of the things, them and their god-awful nasal voices. It confounded me so very greatly that the main character, although he created the game, could not get around the idea that his game had outgrew him or learn how to adapt to the new system. Now, I understand he's probably really stuck on, I just created this game, like, this game has been this way, but I feel like if you had created this game, you would also know, like, the environment and the world and the possibilities it could have grown into. Even if everything's completely changed, you should still have some familiarity with how it could change, if that makes any sense. Like, he was just so stuck on the idea that it wasn't his world that he created that he didn't think, okay, how can I apply the knowledge I already have to the situation now? And it takes him a while to do that. He starts doing that later where he's like, okay, I remember I created this thing, the world's different now, but maybe we can use that old information here, and then it starts to become a work in progress. The other stuff going on, like the villain, the reasons why they're trapped in the game, those were actually interesting. The conversation that was going on there, like how they got trapped in the games, the reason why, like what's going on between the creator and the game, those things, like the final scenes, the final conversations where they're finally getting their answers for like why this is all happening to them, those I was really intrigued by because I thought that was a fascinating conversation to have. But it took such a long time for me to get to that point. I'm telling you, like, that doesn't happen until the very end of the book. So I sat through most of the book listening to two nasal kids to only appreciate the last half, which, I'm sorry, but that's not good enough. So, overall, let's put it this way. I don't know why this man decided when he was gonna read this story, he had to give the two characters you're stuck with the most annoying voices known to man. Two, I don't know why they made the one female character who was established at the very beginning as OP, the damsel in distress, who doesn't even come in handy at the end of the book when she is finally freed. She is like only useful in the first like 2-3 chapters that aren't even well developed, and is no interest in the final thing. Then we have two stupid idiots bumbling around in this world with no common sense. They don't listen to each other. They don't listen to logic. They're just idiots. I'm sorry. They're buffoons in my mind. They're intelligent, but they're idiots. They're those kids. Like, you know, the kids you know that you're just like, how can you be so smart yet so stupid? That was these two kids that I was watching. I think this story was just really, really weak. It could have been so much more. It could have been more well developed, but it was not. So it came off as weak. It came off as cliche in a lot of things. I have seen and I have read better trapped in MMO stories. So if you, like me, like trapped in MMO stories, do not bother with this one. Just go find another one. I would say that even Sword Art Online is better than this one, and that gets pretty terrible. If you have read this book, or if you know any really good MMO trapped in the game sort of entertainment, whether it be a TV show, an anime, a manga, an actual novel, comment down below and let me know. Like I said, I really, really enjoy these sort of situations, and I can't get enough of them. So if you have any suggestions, let me know, because I would be very interested in like seeing more of this genre. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, you click all those bunnies down below. I truly do appreciate it. And goodbye, Internet.